Salutations, Utopians. Hope all is well in your world. Global here. Want to talk a little bit about the news on the Commanders 49ers trade. Let's get right to it. Obviously, for a year now, and it's been actually for the last couple years, the San Francisco 49ers have been battling disgruntled wide receivers, whether it be due to contract negotiations or touches. And so now in the latest installment of that, you got a guy in Samuels, one of the innovators of the utility guys who could play wide receiver, kick returner, halfback, whatever you need him to do, he's willing to do and able. Guy, one of those type of talents, he can go rush for 1,000 yards or go catch 1,000 yards, and very physical. But he had in this past season looked like someone who lost a step, and so um, ultimately his stock was low, and they ended up having to move him to the Commanders. I mean, to the open market, even though their number one guy Ayuk is potentially going to miss the beginning part of the season, at the very minimum training camp. I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to have insider information, but training camp, preseason, and maybe a game or two, maybe even three or four that first month could be null and void in his case. So, they, even though despite needing that, his contract is so hefty on the books. I think it's almost like 20 million. They elected to move him, and the Washington Commanders politely and kindly, with former front office mate Peters over there, who was also with John Lynch originally, and Martin Mayhew, who now is in Washington with Peters, did a favor taking him on. Really, I think if Deebo went anywhere else, he would have been washed up. He looked tremendously slow last year, and just a guy who's hanging on by a limb. I think because of, it's like a Travis Kelsey situation where if you put him on another team like the Raiders or something, there would be no point of him returning. But when you got a coordinate, when you got a coach and Andy Reid who can out scheme, and Pat Mahomes, who's as accurate as anybody in the business, if not the most, you can kind of take that chance and tell him to come back. We don't want to really integrate a new mind at the moment. And that's kind of what's going on in Deebo. He's been a little bit of a radical guy. Peters knows how to handle him. He was part of the staff that drafted him. And then you got a guy in Jaden Daniels who can salvage just about any receiver in the league. I'm telling you, last year, I know it sounds crazy to say this about a rook, but he was pretty much on pace to be an MVP before the rib injuries. And so and looked like the best quarterback in the league. He was doing it all. There's no team that was out of his league, and they could have easily went to the Super Bowl this year. But obviously the roster and certain things like players' temperament proved to be their demise. So I'm happy for him. He's in a good place. I feel like the it was almost like a parting gift when Chase Young got traded from the Commanders the year they went to the Super Bowl. The last time they went to the Super Bowl, and they held the Chiefs to 21 points. But the year that Chase Young was traded was the same season. It was mid-season when Peters was announced he was going to the Commanders, and they gave up a third round pick for a half-year rental in Chase Young, who they didn't even bother to re-sign. Same year they decided to let go of their defensive coordinator, who's now back in the league coaching. He was with the Lions last year, and this summer he will be with. I mean, this season he will be with. Who's Wilkins now, the defensive coordinator? I think he's on the Raiders or something like that. But he's going to be the main face or is it the Jets? One of the two. I think it might be the Jets, because Aaron Glenn and him were both with Detroit last year, and Aaron Glenn's the head coach with the Jets now. But he's back coaching at what he does best, defensive coordinator. And so it's kind of, you scratch your back, we scratch, favor for favor, so to speak. Do I think Deebo is a fifth round guy and worth taking on that cap? Hell no. But if anyone can salvage him and also still make it look effortless, and with Curtis Samuel there, that utility knife, who's also similar to a Deebo, and then I'm forgetting Mac over there. He's the WR1, tremendous season last year. Just got married. Just got engaged, I think, if not married. I think his wedding happened yesterday. congrats to him. Things are looking on the up and up. At the end of the day, it's a fair trade. I think Deebo can give him about 700 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns, maybe 250 rushing. They have also had musical chairs at running back, so just having another set of legs to fill the void, at all costs. There was rumors of Devontae Adams, but this is to me the more surefire thing. He went to the one place he would be valuable, and I think it worked out for all parties. I think the 49ers ultimately won the trade, though. Getting that amount of money off the books, you can get anyone to do what he did last year. I do find it very telling, though, that if they believed in Brock Purdy, I think they would, and there was such a magical connection. I think some of it has to do with Brock Purdy's lackluster quarterbacking skills. I can't wait to see how this ultimately ends with him. Even Colin Cowherd's been on the record stating that just because you went to the Super Bowl doesn't mean you should max him out with today's quarterback market, comparable to today's quarterback market. I fully agree. He's a seventh round pick, went to the Super Bowl, great, but this ain't no Tom Brady, even though he was in the sixth, I know already. But, if you feel like Jaden Daniels can get more out of him than what you could do with Brock Purdy, even if it's a money thing, if that's an all pro guy like a AJ Brown who did get traded from the Titans or something, I don't care what no one says. You don't move off that. Guys who can stretch the field are a rare commodity, and so watching that move right there tells me a lot of kind of what the contract extension is going to look like, because Deebo, even though his better days are behind him, if there was that real Calvin Johnson, Megatron, Matthew Stafford type of bond, then he wouldn't have been moved. I think it's very revealing in many ways. Hope this video was informative, Utopians. I'll try to do better next time. Global out.